Now, the leaders of Germany, France and Poland have pledged unity in their goal of avoiding war on the European continent, as French President Emmanuel Macron said he sees a path forward on easing tensions between Russia and Ukraine. And tensions escalated last month amid fears of a Russian invasion as Moscow began amassing troops at its border with Ukraine. Macron visited Moscow and Kyiv this week for talks with both leaders, urging continued firm dialogue with Russia. And Russian President Vladimir Putin said after his talks with Macron that Moscow would do everything to find compromises that suit everyone. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky also said he hoped separate talks between high-ranking officials in Berlin on Thursday could pave the way for a summit aimed at reviving the peace process. Crowther has more from Kyiv.
Well, the French President Emmanuel Macron, Monday, of course, he was in Moscow with the Russian President Vladimir Putin. Does he leave with a success story? Not necessarily. Diplomacy is moving very, very slowly, but it does appear to be moving a little bit with baby steps. Here's what the French president got from his 2 days here in Ukraine and in Russia previously. He says a pledge from Vladimir Putin to not escalate the tensions any further, and a pledge to not have a permanent military presence or a permanent military base in Belarus. Now, the spokesperson for Vladimir Putin came out after that, though, saying that there was no deal between France and Russia. It doesn't necessarily have to be a deal. There does seem to be a little bit of an agreement there between Putin and Macron, and that is essentially all we can work with here right now. Things will move slowly over the next few weeks, but possibly in the right direction. It looks like Macron is turning into a bit of a mediator here between Russia and Ukraine. The Turkish President Erdogan wanted to have that same role. We'll have to wait and see who manages to get the two parties maybe together at the table at some point. That still feels like it's a long way off right now. So with the French president in Berlin right now, I think most eyes will stay on the German capital, because on Thursday there will be further talks in the so-called Normandy format to discuss the Minsk agreement. Now, that is supposed to be the peace deal between Ukraine and Russia and Germany and France and other signatories that really hasn't worked out politically so far. The good thing is you can see that Russia and Ukraine are ready to sit down at the same table with France and Germany there as well. But there is so much still to be done, because remember that there have been 8 years of war already between Ukraine and Russian-backed separatists in the southeast of the country, in the Donbass region, and now, of course, add that next level, that next layer of complexity with that enormous amount of Russian troops on the borders with Ukraine right now, and more troops being added as we speak. Crowther, CGTN in Kyiv.
And tensions between Russia and Ukraine continue after Moscow took Crimea in 2014. They've escalated as Russia faces accusations that it's planning to invade Ukraine. Now, CGTN's Alyosha Milankovic is in Crimea to check out the situation.
Early in a snowy morning, we embarked on a 2.5-hour journey from the Crimean capital, Simferopol, towards the Crimea Bridge. Driving on the brand new Tavrida highway, we noticed a Russian military convoy heading in the opposite direction appearing in the mist. And then after 20 minutes, another one. And then another. In the end, we counted 9 military convoys. In the distance, at the train station on the Russian mainland side of the bridge, a train with military trucks carrying elements of a pontoon bridge. All of that equipment heading to Crimea.
The huge structure far behind me is the Crimea Bridge, connecting Russia's mainland with the Crimea Peninsula. Built just a few years after Crimea's accession, it represents a message Russia wants to send to the world that Crimea was once, and still is, a part of Russia, as will always be.
This longest bridge in Russia actually consists of 2 bridges. A road just under 17 kilometers long and a railway bridge that's 18 kilometers long. A couple of years after its completion, it still attracts visitors to this viewpoint in Kerch to admire its majestic appearance. Lydia and Vladimir are locals, unfazed by all those military convoys.
We're watching the news about pressure and tensions, but everything is calm here.
The people who are here are still here. They didn't change.
Everyone speaks in unison. Everything is calm here. The border guards are correct. No one is pressuring us. We haven't seen any troops.
Yet not everybody believes that it's all peace and calm in the region, as some have their own interpretation of the situation. Timur Okert is one of Russia's military volunteers who fought in Donbass back in 2014. He says he sees the hidden motives behind the Western narrative about the ongoing crisis.
The current hysteria around Russia is just about one thing: not to allow Russia to support Lugansk and Donetsk. The entire hysteria about how Russia would attack, Russia taking Kyiv, and Russia amassing its army are to prevent Russia's intervention when the Ukrainian army attacks Donbass. But Russia will interfere in that case, and no one should have any illusions about that.
Military convoys heading to Crimea confirm that Timur's words are not unfounded. Alyosha Milenkovic, CGTN, at the Crimea Bridge.